Yeah, this is Paul. Yeah. I'm just sitting here. I wanted to make one video for myself because the others were kind of something important, obviously. But I was looking at the Constitution of the United States. Yes. There's Amendment number 25. In case of the removal of the president from office or the death or resignation, the vice president shall become president. Yeah. And then there's Section 2, whenever there's a vacancy. Right. Passed in 1967. Wasn't that when John Kennedy died or something? Yes. And Lyndon B. Johnson took over during that time? Yeah. Now, I don't know exactly when the former President Kennedy got assassinated. It says this was passed in 1967. Yeah. It kind of goes into a great amount of detail, this amendment number 25. Yes. But it's interesting that the president has powers and duties of his office. The vice president continues, so on and so forth. And then the president shall resume the powers and duties of his office. Yeah. Now, in 1967, I was born in 1970, and I think John Kennedy died in 67 or somewhere around that time. Yes! They must have spent quite a bit of time looking at this back in 1967, and then they passed amendment in 1971. So the Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Yes! That's Section 2 in amendment number 26. Yeah. Well, I was looking at the Bill of Rights, the 10 amendments in the Bill of Rights. Yes. And they don't have this as they do in the other amendments. Congress shall have power to enforce the article by appropriate legislation. Right. But in amendment number 13, they have that. Amendment number 15, they have the Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Right. And amendment number 14, that one about due process, says the Congress shall have power to enforce by appropriate legislation. Yes! It seems like a lot of these amendments after the original Bill of Rights had this additional section about Congress having power. I looked up in the law dictionary what power means. Power is the authority and ability to do something, the right and capability of carrying out some action, the right of jurisdiction. Now, when Congress has the power to enact legislation that enforces the amendments that were enacted after the original 10 Bill of Rights were established, when the Constitution, well, I don't know if they happened at the exact same time, but it seems like power is the authority and the jurisdiction. You've got the power from the executive branch, the authority vested in the executive department of the federal government. Yes. The power of appointment to be exercised, restriction, limitation, person granted the power. Then there's the power of general, power of appointment, the authority of an estate, the power of attorney, the power of disposition, power of appointment, power of visitation, power. It seems like the president has duties and powers, but for most of those elected or appointed to office, they have their official duties. Yes. Then they have the power, the jurisdiction to actually do what the law says. When I was looking at this, the court finds, based upon the court record, the court has jurisdiction. The court has power over the parties, the minors, and the subject matter. Now, if you were to take out jurisdiction and put in power, okay, the Congress has the jurisdiction to pass legislation to enforce the amendments that were enacted after the original 10 Bill of Rights. Yes. Now, let's say I went to the state of Washington. in the District Court of the State of Washington. The State of Washington has the power to be the plaintiff against Paul Bunyan. So the State of Washington has the power to issue a protection order where there's no jurisdiction. There's no power to enforce the jurisdiction of the protection order. Power and jurisdiction are somewhat synonymous. Now, if you went through the Constitution, and I just noticed that when I was looking at Amendment 25, let's say the president has duties and powers. Now, when John Kennedy got assassinated, the Congress at that time must have really looked at what was the problem, 1967, or was it 1971? Now, they put these sections in these clauses in the amendments of Congress has the power, has the jurisdiction to enact legislation. Now let's say the state of Washington decided, the court of Washington, to issue a protection order, and that the court has power over the parties, the minors, and the subject matter. Respondent received actual notice. No, that didn't happen. I didn't receive actual notice. No, he didn't. Now, it says here, the order is issued in accordance with full faith and credit. No, it really wasn't. It wasn't issued in full faith and credit. Now, when I consider the duties, the official duty of every elected and appointed oath of office in the United States, then I think of the jurisdiction of their individual oaths. I think of the power that they have to do what they were elected or appointed to do. Now, as that American citizen that just made a video about my power to have the knowledge of where my sons are, as an American citizen, I have the jurisdiction of knowing where are my 5 sons. Now, I might not be able to contact them, unless, of course, the court removed the protection order. But I might have to sue every oath of office, all of those federal employees that have sworn and subscribed that they not only have a duty to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, they not only have the duty to perform a specific job that they were elected or appointed to do. They have the power to do what they have sworn. Now, I know when I go through that Constitution, all of my constitutional attorneys are going to look at the Congress shall have power. It means jurisdictions.